You kids, get off my lawn. Hey, we're Hangout Live, so
Hey,
Jay's
we're
going to
live.
walk away.
Jay's walking away while we're live. Rude. How rude.
How rude.
How rude.
My coaster wants to know if we're letting Land Monkey organize this week's show.
Should we?
Yes, of course we are.
Okay. And thank you for joining us for Caching in Northwest. It's great having you. See you guys next week.
Oh no, I missed the whole thing.
Yeah.
Again. It was a short show.
It was a speed round.
Yeah. It's amazing. We take your dialogue out and we're just done. Boom.
Yeah.
We've got nothing to say.
So when I'm not here, you do stay on topic?
We have a topic?
Oh, dear.
Oh, boy. Hey, let's give everybody a little sound right here. That's all they get.
Okay.
There. Did you enjoy it?
Was it good for you?
Yeah. Oh, Land Monkey left again.
Apparently. Oh, there you go.
Oh, look at this.
Have you memorized the Caching in Northwest theme song yet?
No, not quite.
Here, you just play along.
Hey! More than I can do.
Wow. What can you play like I've Been Everywhere, Man?
That would be a good one to learn.
Yeah.
That would be a good one to learn. If I put my brain in the right gear for a few minutes first, I could do Country Roads, but that's probably the most appropriate I can think of. But well, tell you what, we'll leave that for a future episode, and I'll practice a little bit first.
What inappropriate songs do you know?
Well, that would be I've Been Everywhere.
Okay.
Once upon a time, I learned to pick out the beginning of Dust in the Wind on a guitar, but
Wow. That's an achievement.
it was a very simplified version. It didn't sound anything like the Kansas guitarist, but, you know, you could recognize the tune, which is all I was really going for. I think I was like 12. So,
I don't think I can even get there, so good one.
I can't do it now, but, you know, because I was 12, so that was like 100 years ago.
Wet Coaster says, to win this week's prize, come up with words for the theme song. That would actually be good.
That would be good.
Okay, Wet Coaster, you have to make us a new logo.
Yeah.
I think since I'm moving the website, I'm going to come up with a new logo.
There you go.
So I'm putting that on Wet Coaster. Wait for the response. Wait for it.
Wait for it.
Come on, he's typing in Canadian. Give him a break.
Oh, yeah. He's typing in
Incoming
metric.
message from the big giant head.
That's just in.
Yeah.
Hey, I show 9 o'clock.
So do I.
Something
that
happens
means?
at 9 o'clock. We become pumpkins.
We turn into werewolves?
I'm not sure what I prefer. No.
Oh, that was a silly Jack in the Box commercial.
Yeah.
It would have been completely forgettable except for this guy over here who just keeps bringing it up. Hey, you know what
Yeah,
happens?
why do you do that?
Turn into werewolves? No. Oh, I don't know why I'm bringing that up. Hey, who's opening? Wit's End. I'm pointing at you.
Wow, with 2 fingers.
Well,
At least
you're lucky which ones
appropriate
they are.
fingers.
Wet Coaster says it's a long weekend. We'll see what happens.
Family show, family show.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm using these fingers.
Okay, just making sure.
They're the pointer fingers, like the pointer
Ah.
sisters.
Yeah.
Is that 11 or Roman numeral 2 or binary 3?
Yes.
The Pointer Sisters?
Yeah. How many pointer sisters were? Okay, let's get on with the
Now
show.
I'm really confused.
Wit's End, you're kicking it off.
Alive and
the
kicking.
bucket.
Here we are.
Okay. Recording in 3, 2.
Oh, and welcome to Caching the Northwest, the only podcast dedicated to geocaching in the great Pacific Northwest. Tonight we'll talk about caches and cachers unique to this little corner of the country. So, stick a Band-Aid on that blister. It's time to go caching in the Northwest.
I noticed you were doing a little hula dance there in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, this show's all about milestones. So, in order to talk about that, we need to bring in our co-host. Some say the Dalai Lama calls him for advice, and that he never experiences leg cramps. All we know is he's called the land monkey.
All right. Yeah, we beat the cramp out of those. All right.
Is it the Dalai Lama that never gets leg cramps or land monkey?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the advice. All right. Here we all are. It's been a crazy day, and I'm unexpectedly in the home studio. But a special aloha and welcome back to the mainland, Wits End.
Well, thank you very much. I did miss being here with you guys. As hard as it is to believe, when I was in the islands, I did miss being here with you guys. You know, I had really hoped to join in for the full podcast, but it just didn't work out. My first priority was spending time with my family, and I was able to pop in a couple times, as you guys know, but I'll just say that connections and conditions on my end were less than ideal. I had a hard time seeing or hearing you guys at all on the device I was on, so if you remember, I mentioned a little cache on a small island off the coast. I was able to get that one, but it wound up being the only cache of the trip. Like I said, this was more family time than caching time, and they're not always the same thing with my family. So one cache for the trip, but it was good. It was a good one. It was a good. I'll talk about it later, and you know, one is enough for me. It was no 11 icon day for me like some people who shall remain nameless. No. Anyway, and as far as my trip goes, later on I'm going to have to give you a report on this GPS-enabled tour guide app that I used. It was really, really cool. So.
Thanks. Leave us hanging.
Yeah. I can tell you now if you want me to.
No. Don't do it now. No. Offended.
It's not a milestone, so we'll have to do another show.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, hey, the view that you shared of your toes in the surf and the sandy beaches and palm trees was pretty awesome. So with the one cache that you did find, does that give you a new state in your caching map?
Not this time. Thankfully, my wife and I were blessed. We celebrated an wedding anniversary a few years ago there. And
there was a milestone.
I got some caches on that trip. So I was able to add the Hawaiian Islands there. And I did go off Oahu to this little goat island, but it doesn't qualify as a new state. But it was a still fun cache. You know, and it's the first time I've ever swam or waded out for a cache somewhere, so that's a milestone in my book.
There you go. That has to be a difficulty 5 cache right there.
I think it was actually rated at 3.5, but yeah.
Okay. So the internets weren't doing so well. You know what they needed is they needed the professor and some coconuts. He could have got that.
Yeah, he could have got it going. And Marianne.
Yeah, well, Marianne makes the coconut cream pies.
Yeah.
You know, when you put your toes in the surf, I thought, you know, I can go do that here. I'll go put my toes in the surf in Washington. But to be honest, I wasn't brave enough to risk frostbite.
Yeah, Puget Sound's cold.
Same water, but there's something different when it goes over all this distance.
Yeah.
It loses its heat. So I must say, having everybody together and in their own studio for a podcast is actually starting to become a luxury. And I do apologize for any issues with the podcast release schedule. I've been busy moving the back-end server operations over to a new host, and the old host canceled the service that I'd been using these many years.
Oh, yes.
And it's taking longer than I anticipated. So, but have no fear, Caching in the Northwest is still the only podcast dedicated to geocaching in the Great Northwest. And we'll have this new service smoothed out in nothing flat.
Well, that, of course, is great news. And in fact, someone on Twitter, Brie Lang, inquired about it and said, what happened to you guys? So it's great news to Brie Lang and to everyone that Caching the Northwest is alive and well. And speaking of good news, the Washington State Parks and Recreation Commission is partnering with Subway restaurants for the second year in a row to promote Washington's great outdoors. Yeah, that's 2. Unless you're in binary and it's 3. And the people that are listening to the audio podcast have no clue what I just did. This year, the State Parks and Subway Restaurants partnership, Walk in the Park, kicks off on June 14th. Or I should say kicked off on June 14th, which was National Get Outdoors Day, which is different than Get Out of Montana, I think we talked about later.
Exactly. I saw that when I was in Montana.
And it runs through September 30th. So, and, coincidentally, if you go to subway.com/cachingNW, you'll get absolutely nowhere. But Walk in the Park will reward park visitors by honoring their Discover Pass in all 435 Subway restaurants located in 17 counties throughout Western Washington. Anyone, cashier or not, who visits participating Subway restaurants and shows their Discover Pass between June 14 and September 30th will receive a voucher for a free regular 6-inch sandwich with the purchase of a regular 6-inch sandwich of equal or greater value and a 30-ounce drink. I don't know what that is in milliliters, but we'll let the Canadian listeners figure that out because they're probably pretty good at converting that by now.
581.
Thank you.
Wow, he did that in his head.
Yeah, he's something else. He and the Dalai Lama, they're like this.
He's a math monkey as well as a land monkey.
They're like this. He's the one over here. Paul Armour, Subway Advertising Board Chairman, quotes, "Encouraging families to lead healthier, active lifestyles is very important to us. Getting outside and enjoying the great outdoors together is a great way to do that, and that's why we decided to launch the Walk in the Park program. We're excited to be working with Subway restaurants once again to promote the Washington State Discover Pass and the healthy recreation people can enjoy in state parks and recreation lands," said Don, is it Hulk? I don't know. Let's say Hotch, just to be fun. He's the director of the Washington State Parks and Recreation Commission. This partnership also highlights the purpose of National Get Outdoors Day by raising awareness about our beautiful natural places. And of course, if you go to voiceofthevalley.com/biglonghurricane URL, which will be in the show notes, you can read all about it yourself.
And any complaints from the Washington State Geocaching Association on the damaging of the reputation with the director of the Washington State's Parks and Recreation Commission can be directed to Wits End?
Yes. My email is thebadcop@cachingnw.com.
And thank you. We're done with the show.
My apologies to Mr. Director. I did not know how to pronounce his name correctly. I tried to therefore cover all possible pronunciations that I could come up with on the fly.
There is no bad publicity.
That's right. There's only bad shows, and this is why we're not putting podcasts up on the internet anymore.
If he'd like to contact us at feedback@cachingnw.com, we could interview him on a future podcast.
There you go. We'd be happy to not only promote Subway and Washington State Parks, but talk about the reason to get outdoors.
And in the reciprocal link, of cachingnw.com/subway will also get you absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, thanks for throwing that out there and really confusing our listeners. Just don't click on anything that he says.
Especially if you get an email from Wits End. Do not click the attachments.
No. So you're going to go out and buy a Discover Pass anyway. You might as well save a little money on lunch while doing it. So we mentioned earlier in the show the topic is milestones. And we're not just talking, the actual stones alongside the road that used to mark the miles. That's where the original definition of milestones came from. You all know that, right?
I do now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I knew that.
Okay. So, Land Monkey, do you actually measure kilometer stones in your caching up in Canada? Oh, we already talked about this, didn't we?
We have, but I'll tell you, I am going to be guilty of rabbit trailing just for a moment. We actually have some caches, not a lot, but they are mile markers from before the metric system came to Canada, and there's micro caches hidden by some of these old mile markers that still exist along one of the old highways out here, which is pretty cool.
Very neat.
Nice. And you have the random Welcome to Oregon sign stuck in the middle of Canada as well.
Well, yeah, at the University of British Columbia, yeah.
Love that one.
So, Mr. Land Monkey, you burn through milestones much faster than either one of us do.
Yeah, boy, howdy.
Yeah. And so, what do you look for in a milestone cache?
Well, that's a great question. The simplest, shortest way to answer that is I would say something memorable. a unique location that either holds a personal significance or a really cool location that will hold significance for us in the future because it's cool. There's something cool about that. It's usually not the cache itself, usually. And it's usually something to do with where the cache is or history associated with the cache or where it is. On that note, for number 1,000, we were actually joined by some great geocaching friends and visited the oldest cache in BC. It's called Tree Hugger, GC1DD. And we featured that in episode 17 of Land Monkey's Geocaching Adventures. We chose that one because of its historical geocaching significance in BC, but it was mostly memorable because of who came with us. We had Manta Rays, our daughter, Donner, eCache, and Goalie Girl 38, and that was the first time we had ever met Goalie Girl 38, and we've become great friends since.
See, it's all about caching, right? Yeah. And I have to agree, rarely is it the actual cache. It's the location it brings you to that's memorable, or the journey getting there.
Or the people.
Yeah.
Or the people you're caching with, right.
Yeah.
Now, a friend of the show, and I believe our listener, Wet Coaster, told us that he got his 700th smiley Saturday at the first day of summer flash mob. That's GC50TBC. That's the bad cop. Wait a minute.
Wow.
Do you know the significance of this? This is the 50th episode.
And you're 50 years old.
Hey,
no, wait, you're not. No, you're not.
I'm almost 50, okay? I don't have a 5 in front of my numbers yet, my age yet.
My IQ is 50.
Well, you're lucky. This is the 50th show. I'm the bad cop. That GC code was designed for me. 50
Absolutely.
TBC.
That's
you
pretty
should be able to log a find just based on that.
I'm going to go do it. Who's going to stop me? I'm the bad cop. Oh, wait, they'll delete the log, won't they? Yeah.
You are so bad.
Yeah, thanks. I'm good at being bad. Oh, so
where
have
were
we
we?
been derailed yet? You were talking about milestones. Please talk about more milestones.
Yes, take us back on track there, please, somebody.
No problem. So that was number 1,000. For us, number 2,000 was at a virtual cache in Las Vegas, the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. And that one was memorable by the location itself. It's a pretty significant landmark. Significant because it's a grandfathered cache type, virtuals, which are cool. But mostly, I would say because we were on a geocaching trip with our very good friends Catapult Jeff and Iron Maiden. And then Mrs. Land Monkey made it extra memorable with her own very special surprise at Ground Zero, which we captured in episode 33 of LMGA.
Very cool.
You're not going to tell us what that is, are you?
You got to go watch the episode. I'm not going to spoil it. However, on that same trip, Catapult Jeff and Iron Maiden hit their 10,000th find milestone.
That's amazing.
It's crazy numbers, but it was awesome. It was fun. We were honored to be there with them. So, guys, how do you select caches for milestones?
I just go find a cache. No. Well, I mentioned a couple of shows ago that I hit number 1,700 while traveling. And usually, I like to plan my finds, especially those with more than 1 0 in them, for something that's important to me. However, this one I kind of lost track and, well, there you go. I found a lamppost skirt hide. It wasn't great, but again, 1,700 isn't a huge milestone. It's not 2,000. It's not 4,000 or 10,000. But still, it's got 2 zeros, so that means something to me.
It's a lot of caches.
That's a lot.
So perhaps I'll do a hike or a tough puzzle, maybe a historic cache or a grandfathered type like a virtual or a webcam, something that's a little unique. I usually don't do LPCs. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, they're kind of run-of-the-mill.
Yeah.
You
use those to filler to get to the next 100.
To get to the big numbers. And as we mentioned in previous episodes, make sure you go and lock those numbers in so that as logs change, delete, or whatever, that they don't move on you if that's important to get those milestones locked in. I remember the biggest milestone still in my memory is we hit we hit 500 about the same time, so we planned it out and hit those little lamp pole skirt lifters to make the ape cache, the original ape cache, the 500th find for each of us. And that was a really memorable day. It was fun. We went up there with Music Lover, a friend of ours, and had a great time. It was the original ape cache back then. It hadn't been muggled for the 38th time and replaced with 14. No, it hasn't been that many tribute caches, but it is a shame that the original cache was muggled like that. But that one was such a unique cache in its own right. It seemed perfect for a milestone. It was a new icon on your finds list and all that. So it was really cool. For me, at least, I kind of lost interest in milestones at that point. Caching's always been about the journey for me, and 500 finds, for me at least, is a lot of finds. It's a lot of caches, and I hit that and just kind of turned off the tracking systems.
Well, it really is a lot. What else do we have 500 of? Well, approximately 500 muscles in the body. There you go. But caching in the Northwest is the source for all the information you ever need to know in life.
Okay. Which will get you absolutely nowhere, but we're going to fill your head with this kind of knowledge.
That's right, and that will be our new logo on the new site.
Okay.
Caching in the Northwest will get you absolutely nowhere.
That's right.
500 times over.
In the Northwest. But yeah, for us land monkeys, we watch the numbers more out of setting personal challenges. We don't really compete with others. But it's fun to compete against ourselves. I guess we just really have that competitive streak. It's not for everyone, but that's another great aspect of this hobby. There's different ways to play for different people.
Absolutely.
Anyhow, the ape cache in Washington State, that's a great location for a milestone, regardless of the fact that you can't get the ape icon anymore. Just getting there is awesome.
There's caching history there.
It really is.
Yeah,
it really is. And finding memorable sites, that can be a challenge, but often you can get help by looking at a number of favorite points or asking around the local community.
Yeah.
And the Tunnel of Light is most certainly a highly favored location.
Yeah, very, very much.
Oh, it really is. I mean, I've been up there a couple of times. When we did the ape cache, the tunnel was closed. So we had to, do the hike up the side of the mountain. We didn't get to go through the tunnel, but I've gone up there a couple of times since, and we've walked through it, we've biked through it. It really is quite an event, and it's a mega event the day after the block party. So if you're down this way, you really got to go. Just hang out with people, and you'll need that Discover Pass. You can grab a free Subway sandwich.
There you go.
Not only was the tunnel closed when we did Cache 500 Ape Tunnel of Light, the bridge west of the cache was washed out and gone. So we couldn't take the tunnel, and we couldn't walk right into the cache. We had to hike across a river to get to it. So it made it much more challenging, which we tend to do anyway.
Yes. If the tunnel was open, we still would have taken the more challenging way. Because, caching is a contact sport.
Yes, especially where the bad cops involved.
Yeah.
Just leave towels in your car. That's all I'm going to say.
And thanks for all the towels.
Right.
So I talked to my brother today, and he's coming into town, and he mentioned that he wants to find some interesting places to ride bikes.
There you go.
And I thought, what's more interesting than 2.25 miles of train tunnel? Where else are you going to find this?
Really
so I'm going to go ahead of him with a flashlight and see if he can keep up.
Yes, and don't provide a light for him.
I don't know how you would get out of that thing if you didn't have a light.
Well, you don't have to steer. It's a straight shot.
It's a straight. Yeah, he just bouncing off the walls there.
Yeah, it's like a pinball machine, but You could also take him to the Burke Gilman Trail. That's a great place to bike as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Look at those things.
Yeah.
Well, getting us back on track, one of the many things that I've come to love about caching is that so many of the locations that you travel to, even in your own hometown, for a geocache are interesting. So we're talking about interesting places like the Tunnel of Light. And they're interesting in diverse and often unexpected ways. And for us land monkeys, we certainly enjoyed a milestone trip with you guys when we headed to the original stash together. Again, a diverse location is interesting for a different reason. There's a geocaching historical significance, but it really seems that we like to do our milestones with awesome caching friends. So I guess that's our thing.
That was an epic trip.
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
Wits End, you made a really good point off the start of the show, which is that milestone finds don't just need to be about the numbers. It could be, I don't know, pull it out of the air here, your highest altitude find, your first 5.5, a date of significance. There's all kinds of other milestones that can exist, and Bad Cop, as you said, they can and should be very personal.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with tracking or planning them if that's what you want to do. It's not something I tend to track much, if at all, anymore, but it's still cool. I know the ones that stick out in my mind are those memorable. I'll never forget the one we did on the island. We waded across, I don't know exactly how far it was, but the island is accessible low tide to go over and find a cache. Really cool.
Did you measure it in Australian miles?
Well, no, it wasn't in Australia, but
oh, okay.
It was cool. I struggled with it a little bit because being that we were wading across, I didn't take my smartphone or my GPSR or anything with me that might be damaged in the surf. So I tried to study the Google map ahead of time on the computer and go from memory with some landmarks there. And based on that alone, it was probably 50 feet off from where I thought it was supposed to be. Thankfully, I had my teenage son with me when I was about to throw in the towel and swim back to shore. He goes, "Found it!" Love hearing that. It's just a beautiful thing to hear. Other people in prior logs I had read said that the coordinates were spot on when they took their GPS over there, so I think it was just a mapping issue online. But still really cool, and I actually videotaped a little segment of that. I'll have to get that to you later. We'll include that in a little bonus feature when you get the Caching the NorthWest DVD release.
Oh, nice.
There you go. But I really liked what you said about milestones and competing with yourself, because really, to me, that's the only way to do it. If you compete with somebody else, there's just so many variables, that it's not a level playing field for a lot of people to do that.
Valid point.
My opinion.
That's true. And really, that's what caching is. Caching is a personal experience.
Yes.
Yeah. And as we've mentioned, there are times where you go out with groups and maybe you're doing an FTF challenge and that introduces a little excitement for you. But that's something you can choose to do. Everybody, I'm going to use the word plays geocaching a little different.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, Land Monkey, you're doing something that very few have ever done.
Certainly not me.
No, with your geocaching streak.
Yeah, I don't know that. I really have no idea how many people have done it. I've heard a few people keeping their streaks going. We're closing in slowly on day number 500. Today's day number 470. Oh, the end is in sight.
1 month.
1 month left. And we're trying to decide what cache to choose for that day. So it'll be a milestone, our 500th day, and that's where we're planning to end the streak. So there'll be a little bit of withdrawal involved, I'm sure, but and not too long after that, based on the way our numbers are going, probably to the tail end of the summer, we figure we'll probably hit find number 5,000, and we've got a couple ideas up our sleeves for that one.
That's cool. Those are some very impressive numbers. Yeah, congratulations on that. Yeah.
Well, if you come down to Washington, I will throw you a party for your 5,000th geocache find.
Oh.
Wow. All right.
Cool.
But if you don't, I'll still throw you a party. We'll just do it through Google Hangouts.
Perfect.
How do you push cake through the microphone? Okay.
Yeah.
Native Texan who's listening tonight. That means we have 2 listeners. This is a landmark show.
Absolutely.
I don't want to get
milestone.
a big header. Oh, there he goes. She said that her 500th milestone was the necropolis of Britannia Manor 3 in Austin, Texas.
Wow.
Have you guys heard of this geocache?
I have heard of it. I have seen photos, not spoilers, but photos that give you a sense of what it's about. And I thought, man, if I ever get the opportunity to go down to that region, I've got to see that cache.
Yes, exactly.
I got to look it up now. I'm intrigued.
Okay, you all know who Lord British is, the I've completely forgot. The game series was in the early 80s, early 90s.
Wasn't Myst, was it?
No.
No.
They did 5, 6, 7 of these games. Oh, come on.
Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards. No?
I'm going with no.
How about
And this
Zork?
is embarrassing because I should know that it's very much like Zork. Quest, was it Dungeon Quest, Dragon Quest? Anyway, I'm embarrassed that I don't remember.
Zelda. I've never heard of it, so you can't be that embarrassed because I don't know what you're talking about.
So,
did several of these games, and that's where he made all his money. Hold on, I am in front of a internet connected computer.
You could look it up. We'll just fill time in the meantime.
It was
If you'd like to email the Bad Cop with information about Lord British or any other gaming series from the early 90s, contact us at feedback at cachingnw.com, or go to cachingnw.com and look for information there. Call us at 253-693-TFTC. Are you back yet?
I got it. It's very similar to a model of Nissan car. It's the Altima series, not the Altima series car. Altima, they made a whole bunch of these games, and that's where he made all his money. He became a millionaire, and now he gets to go into space and deep into sea, and he's the one that put the 2 caches at the most extreme. He's the one that did the cache on the space station, and one that requires a submarine at the bottom of the sea.
Right.
So,
I'm going to make friends with
Native
Richard Branson. I
Texans
better go find them.
that this cache has its own Facebook page. It's that popular.
Wow.
So, Britannia Manor 3.
Britannia Manor 3. That is GC2B034.
And that's Native Texan's 500th milestone. So she was sharing that with us. That is very cool.
And
That's
Austin,
significant, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would be interesting to hear from Native Texan what prompted her to choose that one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Write us or email us at any of those prior mentioned contact points and tell us all about the story. Call us at 253-693-TFTC and leave a voice recording about it, and we'll play it on the podcast.
And while we're waiting, maybe we can talk about another way of picking a cache to do a milestone. And that's what we're prompting you guys, our listeners, for. It's ask others their ideas. Often people can be more creative than you are, or they might have different caching experiences. So
it's not a surprise to me. A lot of people are more creative than I am.
So yeah, I mean, for us, that's how we chose our 1,000th milestone. We were coming up on 1,000, and we're like, well, I mean, we haven't been caching that long. We're not sure, that's a pretty significant milestone. What are we going to choose? So we actually went to the mvgeocaching.com discussion board. That's our local Metro Vancouver Geocaching Association, and we just posted a question and said, hey, we're coming up on our 1,000th milestone. What do people do for their 1,000th milestone? And a very popular answer was Tree Hugger, the oldest cache in BC, because it is in the Vancouver area. So it's actually at the University Endowment Lands out at UBC, where I sometimes work.
There you go.
Sometimes work, sometimes don't. It
milestone,
depends on
and it was convenient.
And it was very convenient.
For us, one of the geocaches that have become a milestone is the oh boy, I'm really bad with names. You know what? Let's just continue and pretend I never said anything. What was the
Did
one
you
we
hear
did
something,
in the
Land
swamp
Monkey?
there? What's end?
The bloated, festering head of my first victim.
Thank you. How long have I been on this podcast tonight? I feel like I'm been.
I
on
don't
here
have
forever.
the GC code for it right off the top of my head, but really, how hard could it be to go find a cache named the bloated, festering head of my first victim? Just Google it.
Exactly.
It'll pop right up. And, even if you're not in the area and want to go find that cache locally, go there and read the logs.
Oh, yeah, the logs are worthwhile.
As we are a family show, I would maybe not encourage people to Google the bloated, festering head of my first victim.
You're gonna say track you down. It sounds terrible, but well, it kind of is. You got to admit. I mean, the first time I read it, I was like, "Oh, this is disgusting." Who? Well, wait, I got to read more.
There's a whole backstory built up around it, and I think it's the only time I've ever been out on a geocaching expedition where I was afraid I might have to call rescue crews in to rescue the bad cop, and it's memorable. I have no idea what number find it was, but it was a milestone.
It was a even number for me, 200, 300. Maybe it was 100. It was my 100th find.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's when I was still young and thought I could do anything.
Yeah, yeah. There's a picture of your wound, I believe, on the log, if I remember correctly. And I think it won you something in a contest later on.
The log entry. When you have
not the wound.
Cache description. No, I still carry the scars of the wound. Don't you worry about that. When you have a well-written cache description and you go to a well-placed cache, it just stirs things up within you. And I wrote my longest log, I believe, and put a lot of effort into it. I actually didn't. All this just flowed from within me. That may not have come out right. All this, these words just flowed out, and I was like, okay, I can work with this theme, and I won a milestone geocoin, 500 find geocoin because of that. So
very cool.
Caches that have a lot of creativity to them, at least they should inspire you to be more descriptive and verbose in your logging, and not just thanks for the cache and move on.
Right. Out of respect for the cache and the story in that one, I keep that on my watch list, and I get the logs of people who go to find it.
Yeah.
And often they're nice long stories rather than just, hey, I found it, thanks.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah. I keep waiting for the log of someone to say, hey, I found it without getting wet.
We didn't. We didn't find it without getting wet. We did get wet. Although some of the areas that we would have gotten wet, we didn't because they were frozen solid. I think we were talking about ice fishing earlier. That's different.
So Native Texan has written back and says that there were several of us that had the day off from work, and we decided to head over there, talking about the necropolis of Britannia Manor.
Right.
And he says the question is, why not make that a milestone cache?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's. I don't believe it's an actual multi-cache, but there are multiple steps to it, and it's really well done.
Yeah.
So
it looks like we've got. Oh, sorry. Finish, please.
Go ahead.
Well, you were going to say if you happen to be in Texas, finish the thought.
Oh, you've got to go to Austin and get this cache. It's worth it.
Fantastic. Cool. I was going to pitch in here that we've got a little more feedback from Wet Coaster online. He noted that he's had two events he's had events as two of his milestones. And his advice is, I think it's best to make the milestone with friends or fellow cachers you just met. And I think that's fantastic advice.
Absolutely, yeah, that's cool.
Interesting. That's nice, with friends you just met. I do also have several events as milestones. And you can look back and if I like one of them was the a cache machine. I made the event my 1,000th find rather than just one of the caches that I found on the cache machine. I can look back and go, oh, I know exactly where I was when I found that cache, or when I logged that event, made that milestone.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
So there you go. Send us email. Go ahead and call in. Tell us what you're planning for your next milestone, whatever that may be, 500, 1,000, 10,000. You could even go find 100,000 caches. It's possible.
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Right. You could go find 1 million caches. It's possible.
There are 1 million caches out there plus, so yes,
there
it is
2
theoretically
million.
Possible.
Right. I'm not saying you can do it, but it's. Well, I did say you could do it. I didn't say you were going to do it. So anyway, we'll cut the show at this point. I think we've rambled on long enough.
Sounds
and
very
don't worry, this will be up on the internet for you to download and nothing flat. So I want to take the time to say thank you for being part of the show. You can call 253-693-TFTC. Leave us a comment, concern, correction any time of the day or night. Of course, you can always email us, feedback@cachingnw.com. Visit cachingnw.com for show notes on this show or more about any of the Caching in the Northwest podcast. And your support helps keep the quality shows coming. So if you like this show, please click the PayPal button on the website. The show's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Copyright 2014 by Chris Umfenauer. Thanks, folks. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Good day.
Night all.
And we've stopped broadcasting.
Have we?
Yes. Well, not
We've stopped
yet.
recording.
We stopped recording.
Yeah.
We're still broadcasting for the YouTubes.
The YouTubers, for those
Mhm.
awesome people who are dedicated, hardcore cachingnw.com tolerators.
Tolerators. Wow.
Wow, you tolerator, you. Wow, let's do that. We'll get shirts made up. I tolerate caching in the Northwest.
That would be so awesome.
That'll be on the banner at the block party this year, right?
You know, I need to print up a banner, so I could do that. Have you tolerated caching in the Northwest yet?
Bear with us. And you have to, BEAR.
BEAR. I like it.
Which is really the way you would spell bear with us. Anyways, but,
Right. But
like
we could put a bear up there.
a grizzly chasing a stick man
Wait.
out of his sailboat.
Well, unless you're at Wreck Beach, then it would be spelled differently. But
Really? That's where you're going with that?
yeah.
Okay. Gentlemen, it is so nice to have you back together in your own studios. I really do appreciate the work you put in every week. Thank
So
you.
you're saying you're glad we're not in your studio with you?
No, you're welcome anytime.
I heard there isn't a lot of room in your studio anymore.
No, there isn't. I'd show you, but no, you don't want to see this. So my mother's living with me now, so I could really say I'm podcasting from my mother's basement.
or your mother is how does that work? It's your basement, but your mother's there. That's confusing.
So
I'm podcasting from the basement in the house where my mother lives.
There you go.
There you go.
Which just sounds like you're qualifying now. So that's good.
No, really, it's okay. She just lives here.
go watch the Brad Paisley video, So Much Cooler, online.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
That's my
Okay.
life.
I'll have to
I
go
am
check
so
that
much
out.
cooler online.
Yeah. And when you do watch So Much Cooler online, that video, the big performing arts amphitheater that they recorded the live stage stuff was where the Bad Capper and I used to work, do some side jobs. We were there that night, so that was it was memorable on that occasion. But it's a funny video, even if we weren't there.
I'll
We
let
weren't
you
in-
know.
We're not in the video, but
We had dinner with Jason Alexander.
we did.
Oh, sure.
Really?
He sat at a different table
Yeah,
and
he
didn't
sat two
talk to
tables
us.
away, but
But
we were
ate
in the same
food at the
catering
same
tent.
time.
Nice.
Same catering tent as Jason Alexander. So
No, we had dinner with Jason Alexander.
There you go.
In fact, I think we bought him dinner.
I couldn't remember his name. I remember his character, and I came out of the chow hall and I came back in to the Bad Cop. I'm like, dude, George Costanza's right there. And he's going, yeah, right. It's probably somebody looks like him. And he comes and he goes, that's really Jason Alexander. I'm like, I know.
Wait, he's here?
Yeah. Apparently, he and Brad Paisley have done several videos together. They have a
Yes,
long
they have.
friendship.
Celebrity is another one.
Yeah, that's the other good one. So it was a great show that night. I even remember the night Kelly Pickler opened up, and it was a great show.
I couldn't have told you who Brad Paisley was before the concert.
Yeah, but
After
you
the
play his
concert,
music a lot now.
I am a fan of Brad Paisley. I mean,
Yeah.
I was really impressed
Yeah.
with his talent, and like, wow, I like this guy. I like his music. I like
Yeah, he's a lot of fun.
him. I guess.
So I see Wet Coaster's been giving us some advice here as well while we've been rambling on. He has another slogan.
Ramble?
Yeah, there's another slogan for the show. It's so much cooler in video than live.
Wow. Thanks.
Gee, thanks. Yeah. Us Canadians, we're so polite.
That's funny. That's funny. No, it's not. So should we get T-shirts made up for the show?
I think we should.
Okay.
I think that'd be very cool.
We could give Wet Coaster a staff T-shirt because he basically is staff here at the podcast.
No kidding.
Okay, well, I'll wait until I have the new logo in hand. Then I'll get T-shirts made. How's that?
So are we legit going out for doing a contest here for a new logo?
We can actually do that. Yeah, I wouldn't mind at all. I'm not all that creative. I may look creative. Look at behind me. See this?
Wow.
Yeah. But I don't have the... Show me the hula dance again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, did you see this edition here behind me? Speaking of behind me?
Oh, you got a new one.
Very nice.
The sign wall keeps growing.
Is that American sign wall?
Sure.
Okay.
ASW?
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear.
It's bad. It's bad.
So if we
Really
are going
bad.
going to do a contest,
It's blocking my coins. But I got my coins here.
I
almost reached around.
to grab your 500 one that you won.
I can't
If you can find it, old guy.
Apparently, I don't have my 500th coin.
They're all shiny and they look the same.
I'm back now.
No, we're done talking about you.
Okay, good. I've got the little one. Oh no, it's right here. I missed it.
Oh, very nice.
Look at that. I like it with the reflection of the webcam too.
You like that?
Yeah.
It's like the infinite coin.
I
Very
think I
cool.
won that from Podcaster.
Very nice.
Very cool.
The biggest coin I've ever owned. It's actually a coaster. It's that big.
Is it a wet coaster?
Oh, only if you put a drink on it. A drink that's weeping.
We've stalled
Wet
out.
Coaster says you can beat me up at the block party. I had to read that a couple of times.
Oh, cool.
But isn't the Northwest U.S. actually Canada? Well, the extreme Northwest, yes.
Yes.
It's Canada, Washington, Oregon, Idaho.
Well, Canada, that's kind of really pushing the limits. Let's say
Oh, did I say Canada?
Yukon, BC, Alberta.
Like
Well,
Canada's just a state, right?
yeah. The state of Canada. Us Canadians are always in a state of Canada.
Yes, you are. Eh?
That's right.
It's a perpetual state. Anyways, I had something that I was asking. What was I? Oh, what I was asking is, hey, if we're legit going to do a contest for logo design, we should promote that.
You're right. Let's
Sure.
do that.
Our
Through
various
our social medias.
You got it.
And let's see. Did we get a good picture of us together, the three of us, at our epic caching adventure that would be suitable for webpage?
Well, of course we did.
Right.
Sure.
I know there's at least one picture with the four of us in it, with Mrs. Landon in there too.
Wet Coaster's not helping. He says Land Monkey caches in southwest of Canada. Yes, we know it's the southwest of Canada. But I didn't incorporate that when I originally did the show.
It's a little late to retroactively change the name of the show. Caching
Welcome to Caching in the northwest of
And
the
the
U.S. and the southwest of Canada. We're going to need to do like a 3-point font on the webpage just to fit the titles.
That's okay.
CNWUS SWCA.
A very easy to remember domain name.
Absolutely.
I'm sure nobody has that.
Yeah,
And we
hashtag.
could even go .ca just to incorporate that, to keep the letters down.
It's .c. Eh?
Precisely. So, okay. Do you want to think about, are there any specific rules or regulations we need to consider with respect to running a contest? I'm not sure if there's anything, if we're advertising it in the US, if there's any legalities we need to be concerned about.
Well, it's an international contest now, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. No purchase necessary.
Open to residents of the world.
There you go.
Planet Earth. Except Australia.
Because they do things differently down there.
Yeah.
We're going to get a logo and it's going to to be upside down and backwards. We're not going to know what to do with it.
That doesn't work.
I don't know how to do this. All the pixels are upside down. Wet Coaster says we should be caching in Cascadia.
Ooh.
We could be, but then Montana gets ruled out. And
That
we've
is
already
true.
included Western Montana.
That would be the Rockies in Cascadia.
Yes.
The Rockadias.
Speaking of Montana, our Montana listener
Yes.
posted a photo this evening on Google Plus that was spectacular. Actually, he's been posting a lot of very, very cool photos lately, I have to say. But the one tonight is he called it the biggest dandelion he's ever seen.
Yes, he did.
Is that
Holy
crazy
cow.
or what? You see that?
It's like the Canadian salute there. That thing's softball size.
It's crazy, eh? Yeah, Corey's been posting a lot of really cool photos
There you
lately.
go. How's that?
Oh,
That's good sized.
yes, nice.
That goes beyond Mondo.
Yeah, see, look at some of those photos. He's got some beautiful photos he's been posting.
That's some big sky right there.
Yeah. Thus the name of the state.
Oh, good one. I had a nice Montana sky. Let's see here. Hang on. Let me stop my screen share and see if I can find it.
Okie dokie.
And how would I go about finding a photo when you think you know where it is?
Hurry up, I'm holding my breath.
Oh, hold on. Almost there.
Well, here, I'll share. This is where I spent Sunday afternoon.
Nice.
That's how empty it is when you stay up at the North Shore instead of down in Waikiki proper.
Beautiful.
This particular little park is closed to vehicles on Sundays. You can walk in, but there was a couple of people down here on the beach, but I had pretty much this whole area to myself. And I took my hammock down. Figured I'm gonna go find a place to take a nap, and I found these two trees down here. Like, oh, those two trees look like they're good, hefty trees, right distance apart, good hammock trees. And I walked up to them expecting to wrap my straps around them, and each of them had a big metal ring screwed into about 4 feet off the ground. I'm like, oh, I'm not the first one with this idea.
That is very cool.
So it was really cool. Let's see if I can get. Do I have it in there? Yeah, there's my hammock. So there's where I spent my Sunday afternoon.
There's no pity for you.
No.
Wow, look at that. That is incredible.
Wow.
Very nice.
Where did you come up with the hammock?
I own one. I
You
brought
brought
it
it with you? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a travel hammock.
It's right here. The hammock and the straps, the tree straps. So
Is that an REI special?
it was actually. The Bad Cup and I went to a IT seminar up at REI Corporate REI didn't put it on; they just hosted it. But one of the perks was a free REI gift card. So with mine, I bought the hammock.
$25 gift card for just attending.
Yeah,
that is really neat.
No,
So-
$50 gift card for attending.
I think so. I think I had to put $5 or $10 with my gift card to get that.
And I went out to the bathroom, and that's when I won the other $50 gift card that they were giving away. And Wits End was nice enough to admit that I actually won it, rather than just keep it for himself. He could have,
Everybody in the room is like,
known.
everybody in the room says, "Just say you won." I'm like, no.
So that's when I went out and bought the life-proof case for the iPhone,
Cool.
because that's $80 in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, good phone cases are expensive. We've got an OtterBox
They really
case.
are.
This is Land Monkey's phone, but it's a good investment.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, when you consider, you're protecting a $500 phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't cheap out.
Yeah, they don't make an OtterBox for mine. But
Yeah, they do. It's just you got to buy a big OtterBox and get an iPad one and just stick your phone
yeah,
in
it's not. There isn't one that's made for my phone model. It's probably a large universal model, but
Yeah, it's called a Ziploc bag.
yeah. Well, and that's basically what I had. Let's see, do I have it on here?
Mine's upstairs.
Mine's in the other room. Here, this is what we had for all of $9.50. Let's see, share. Can I figure this out? Good old mono price for those of you that aren't familiar with it. It's a
Take a
bag
look at. Wow.
with 3 Ziplocs and then a couple of fold-over snaps, and it worked out great.
What do we need to do?
We've lost Land Monkey.
Okay.
Look at Land Monkey's face on the webpage.
Very cool. Hey, that's better than the Canadian greeting.
Oh, you know what? It's so worth stopping the podcast right here if we can keep that.
Oh, that's great. Good.
You want
Does that
Mrs. Land Monkey to come in, because I'm sure she sees that face from time to time. But
What's funny is she was just standing in the door a moment ago. So yeah.
Does that just top off your wonderful day there, Mr. Land Monkey?
That's kind of the expression that sums up my day, anyways.
oh,
Really, it's going to be like that today.
yeah, it's going to be one of those days. Hey, folks, good night. I'm cutting off the broadcast.
All right. Thank you for watching.
Night all.